Okay, MJ.
Yeah, we talked obviously a little bit about your wrestling career, but maybe a lot of people don't know that you also had a very successful managerial career. And one of your last angles in WWF back in 1996 obviously involved you managing the ringmaster Steve Austin. And while it took him a little bit of time to gain his footing, Stone Cold Steve Austin became arguably the biggest star in the history of professional wrestling. So I was just wondering, when you were managing him, did you realize he had that type of potential, or were you kind of shocked by the way he kind of skyrocketed to the top?
No, I mean I saw his now. I guess I'd say I don't know that anybody thought that Steve Austin would become, and in my opinion, you know, I guess I think as a wrestling star, he's the biggest star we've ever had. Now The Rock, of course, The Rock went on to be, I mean, A-list movie star. I mean, there's nobody gonna, deny that. In terms of worldwide recognition and popularity, I don't think anybody's gonna top The Rock. But as far as wrestling goes, yeah, I saw as a matter of fact, the reason that I was put with Steve, Vince put me with Steve, and basically as like because Vince, you know, I guess he put me with several guys, I guess to more or less help groom them, to give them advice and be with them and what have you, and that of course that rub also helps them. Anybody that was put with me, automatically was hated, but um, the I can remember some of the agents back at the time telling Steve that he needed to, he needed to spice up his TV matches and do more stuff. And I told him, no, don't, don't change anything. I said, here's what I told him. I said, what you do is very believable. You go out there and you wrestle, and you're not going to get over as fast as say some other guy, but a lot of guys that get over real fast, they also die real fast. And I said, but even though it'll take you longer to get over, once you're over, you're going to be over so solid, you can do anything you want. And I said, and I just think that you'll be, one of the bigger stars we've ever had. Of course, I don't think anybody realized it would be as big as it has been.
BG.
So
Yeah, Ted. I mean, considering your character, your success with Steve, and I mean, you're one of the best talkers in the mic in history of the business. Has WWE approached you about doing any managerial work with some of the younger stars?
no, it's like, it's kind of like I had my run. I went back in I guess '05 and '06. I was there probably a year and a half. This was oh gosh, I can't. I remember the one WrestleMania was Foley and Edge when they had the in Chicago. I don't know which when they had the anything goes match. That was my match for that WrestleMania. But I was there for about a year and a half in that role as behind the scenes, kind of like part of the creative team. And I tried to tell them when they hired me. I said, look, I said I'm not Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood, he's real good in front of the camera and he's really good behind the camera. And I said, that's a gift. And I said, I'm not one that has that gift. I can take care of me. I know who my character is, and I know how to use my character where my character interacts with other characters. And and it's something you have to really, the whole writing thing, the whole idea thing. Back in the old day, we called them bookers. You got to really love that. I mean, Michael Hayes. I saw that in Michael Hayes. Another guy. If Jake Roberts stays on the path he's on right now and keeps clean, I told Jake. I said, I've said this for the years. I said the reason I loved working with Jake so much was it was easy. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to tell him anything, and it was almost like we went out there and we did the dance, and again, it was easy because he was so sharp, and he's got that creative thing. But for me, that's not my bag. It's like I had a great run. I wrestled professionally from 1975 to the end of '93, and then stayed on until '99. So I had a pretty, a great career. My passion. I'll always love wrestling, but my passion now is the ministry that I have. So it's kind of like I had my run, and people ask me, they said, "Gosh, have you ever see yourself making a comeback?" I said, "No." It's like, my body thanks me every day that I quit. So I don't know if that helps you.
Listen. Let's go on to talk about your ministry. You just talked about the Heart of David ministry. You guys are doing some really great things for people. Would you mind talking about your goals with the ministry and what your overall mission is?
Well, the mission statement basically of Heart of David is we're a ministry of evangelism and encouragement. Evangelism meaning that I evangelize. I'm a traveling. I don't pastor a church. I travel on a weekly basis and to churches, not only churches, but I do a lot of. I find myself doing a lot more men-specific events. I talk to a lot of men. I go to a lot of prisons. I speak to people that are in recovery programs. They used to call one of them Teen Challenge. Now they call it Life Challenge, which has a tremendous success rate. It's like I tell people all the time. I said, you hear all these stories about all these Hollywood stars going into rehab, and they keep going back to rehab, and Lindsay Lohan will continue to go to rehab until it kills her, until she realizes that just going to rehab is not going to do it, and the rehab that has worked with like 95% success is this faith-based rehab where it's more about developing a relationship with Christ. So that's my heart and my passion. Goals is to see my boys come alongside me, and they are in a lot of ways. Even though my son decided not to re-sign with the WWE, personal decision that I was very proud of. We can talk until we were blue in the face about why he wasn't used in a better way, which is kind of a thorn in my side. But it is what it is. It's a funny business. But nobody will argue the point that he was one of the best hands they had. He made a life choice. He said, "Dad," he says, he finally said, "Look," he said, "I realized that you're right. The reason that I didn't want my children to be wrestlers wasn't because I didn't love to wrestle. It was the lifestyle and the demand on me to be away from my family." And once he had a son, that just hit him like a brick. And so he's doing great. He's going to continue. I can't even get into the things that he's got going that are just very proud of him, to be honest with you. So, but the ministry is ongoing. I see it. People ask me all the time, "Ted, do you ever see yourself being a pastor?" And I said, "No, not really." I said, because I just feel like the celebrity that I believe that I've allowed to have is far-reaching, it's worldwide, and as long as it's kind of like, when you go fishing, you got to have bait, and there's different bait for different people, and I guess you might say that my being a wrestler, a former wrestler, is the bait. People that come to hear me and to see me are oftentimes people who are wrestling fans, and they come to see a wrestler, and a lot of them leave having met God. So that's what I want, and it's. Will I be a pastor? I don't think I have the patience to be a pastor. But it would be just like God to say, "Okay, son, I'm going to teach you a little patience now. I want you to be a pastor." And if that happens, then fine. But if not, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And again, it's an opportunity to give back. It's kind of like I tell guys all the time. I said, one day we're all going to die, and somebody's going to stand over us and give a eulogy. How do you want to be remembered? You simply want to be remembered for being a world famous wrestler who made a lot of money, or do you want to be remembered for somebody who was compassionate and took the opportunity to count your blessings and try to give back and give put the needs of, which is what I did to change my life. I put the needs of my family and my wife and my kids ahead of my own needs. And at a time in my life where, had I not chosen that path, I could have ended up like a lot of my buddies who unfortunately aren't with us anymore. And I tell you what, I'm really proud of Jake. You know, Jake's one of those guys. I've known Jake since he started. I've been down the road. I've been down the dirt road with Jake, and you know, I kept waiting to pick up the paper or get the call that Jake had been found dead somewhere, and the guy's just doing a remarkable job, and I'm just really proud of him, and I just hope he keeps going.
All right, well, listen, we'll end it. I got one final question. They told me not to ask this, but I frankly don't care what they tell me to do. You are very inspirational with your speaking. I've listened to some of the speeches that you've done. I'm getting married Friday. You have any good advice for me?
You know, there's a couple of books that I've done several weddings. It's funny, people ask me, they'll come and say, you know, they find out that I'm a minister, and they say, well, do you do weddings? And I go, well, yeah, I've done a few, and so I get that invitation every now and then. But I said, if I'm going to marry you, then you need to agree to just a little bit of counseling, and they always do. So there's two books that I told my boys. I said, you're going to read these books. You're going to read them, and your fiancés are going to read them. And the one book is called His Needs, Her Needs, because basically, men and women, gender-wise, we're not made the same. We do not think the same. And it's like if you were to list the 5 top needs of a man and a woman, none of them match. And the other book is called Communication, Sex, and Money. And that book was written by a gentleman named Edwin Lewis Cole, who was a minister, had a huge impact on my life. Because basically those 3 things, communication, sex, and money, are the 3 things that make or break a marriage. You know, when the communication breaks down, the marriage breaks down. You know, and of course, it's, you know, sex and money. I mean, women by their nature need security. I used to ask my boys, you know, when we go out, I'd find some really good-looking girl that's with some nerdy-looking guy, and I'd say, hey, look at that couple over there, and they'd go, golly, Dad, what does she see in him? And I went, security.
It's true.
I said, he may not be great-looking, but he said he's probably got a good job and a good head on his shoulders. You know, it's like it's not all about the outside package, which is what most of the guys look at first. So anyway, I hope that helps you.
Yeah,
Check out
sure.
those
It's
books.
good. Awesome. Thank you, sir. I needed that. See, they made fun of me and they said you wouldn't answer my questions, but I knew you'd help me out. Listen, we really appreciate your time. Would you like to talk about where people can find you, your website, all that kind of stuff?
Actually, I have 2 websites, heartofdavidministry.com, and the other site is obviously milliondollarman.com. And you know, you can find me there. You know, I'm on Twitter and on Facebook. You know, I have, you know, my Twitter handle is MDM, Ted DiBiase, and I've got a Facebook account for the ministry as well as, you know, the one that relates to wrestling. So there's a lot of places you can find me.
Okay, listen, Mr. DiBiase, we thank you for your time, and we appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
My pleasure. I mean, guys, thanks so much, and you guys have a blessed day.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right.